Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I hope good. I wanted to come on today and talk more about my book. I've had quite a few new followers between Facebook and YouTube, and quite a few people are asking me more about my book, especially some men, because it looks so girly. This book isn't about it isn't for women, I should say, and there's no gender in trauma, and there's no gender in healing. We all deal with the same things. They obviously might be a little different, depending, but we all have trauma. We all feel worthless. We all blame ourselves for things. We beat ourselves up with the self-sabotage and the limiting beliefs, and that's what I talk about the most. And in my book, what I do is I take my life from before I was born up till just a year ago, and while I was trying to heal myself, I was at the end of my rope, rock bottom, the basement of rock bottom, done. After 58 years, I was sick of people telling me it gets better, because it wasn't. It was getting worse. It was only getting worse. So at that point, I've been there throughout my life in different situations, and you'll see if you read the book where I was about to want to give up. I was done. But this past time was bad. It was the worst I've ever been in my life. My body was my organs were having issues. I had lost over 20 pounds quickly, not trying to, just literally falling apart. And then I broke down. I was that's what I mean. I was at the end of the rope. So instead of, yeah, the worst possible outcome, something nudged me to seclude myself. So I had a friend who had an attic room, and I went up in this attic room where there was no windows right up there. And I would just sit there and, go up in the attic and sit there in the dark and just cry and allow things to come up, things that I had shoved down a long time ago. And then I thought about the tools that I learned the past 2 decades, all the classes and courses and webinars and books that I've used and studied, and I never really applied them on myself because they all came down to some type of, a booklet or a packet, write this down and journal this and journal that, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to do the work. I didn't feel like it. But I would get a lot of subliminal things, hypnosis, put the headphones on, and then say, well, they don't even work. It's not working. I've done it for 3 weeks because I didn't do the packet, or I didn't answer the questions, and I didn't want to do the work. And that's why I say now, if you want to heal and you want to live and not just exist and spend your life worrying and just, it's so stagnant to live that way. And I spent 58 years like that. I had some happy moments throughout my life, and some times where things were going well, but I always sabotaged it again, and I didn't mean to. I didn't know that's what I was doing. So I want to talk about that a little bit too. If you have like lifelong trauma, since you were a child, and while your brain was developing, it was being rewired and all that trauma, and then when you get to be an adult and you have these choices and decisions to make, you're still making them on that childhood trauma because your brain was wired then. So, and that's what was happening. I was like, well, here I am, 58 years old, and nothing ever changes because I was still doing the same things. Even though I might have been doing them a little bit different, I was still technically making the same choices and, running on fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Trying to appease somebody, trying to run from things, fighting it through. It was just constantly just going in a circle, and I wasn't getting anywhere. So again, all those years of studying and the research that I've done, I started applying, doing the journaling, and started getting into shadow work. And shadow work is, when you journal, you're going to get rid of the crap. As you write, something will come into your head that you've been carrying around with you, and that's where I talk about limiting beliefs and being aware. When you're a child, someone said something to you and you carried that thought with you, and then your whole life, well, I'm too short. I'll never be able to do this job. I'll never be able to do that because I'm too short. That's a limiting belief, and that's one of mine that I carried through my life. It stopped me from making certain choices. The same with being too stupid. I never took college prep or anything in high school because I barely even graduated. I didn't want to be there. I didn't care. I was in one of the biggest numbing stages of my life. I barely even remember high school. And now I'm like, I wished I known what I do now. It might have saved me, thinking I was dumb. As an adult, I've gone to college a few different times, and it was always money or something that made me not be able to complete it, which again was part of that cycle. I was bringing myself into those situations unknowing. So it's an excuse, but it's not at the same time. Once you know this, once you know you have control over your own thoughts and over your own decisions, and that you can release that childhood trauma and all of those things that have been holding you down, and it doesn't mean when you're releasing things they're going to go away. There's certain memories you might never be able to release completely. But what you learn how to do is process it finally for once. Like, there's a lot of deaths that I'd gone through in my life where I just shoved it down and I never really grieved. Well, when I went to that seclusion and started journaling, that's how my book came about. People told me for my whole life, you should write a book. And then as I was journaling, I thought, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that might be at the end of their rope too, and I don't want them to think they're alone, because I've been through so many different things that I could probably help you out a little bit, or try to guide you or something to try to help you with it, because I've been there. So as I was writing this book, or as I was writing, this book came about. My full memoir is still in the making, and that has, way more. There's a lot. This is just main traumas that I've been through, and how I handled them, and then a better way of handling it. Something that I wished I'd known. And again, I'm 58 years old. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I would love to have known this stuff. I would love to have known about being mindful and having control over my thoughts, because I just wallowed in them. I allowed them to absorb me no matter what was going on in my life, whether it affected me, directly or not. And I talk about that a lot too, about, tomorrow's gone, or yesterday's gone, tomorrow's, not promised, and an hour from now is not even guaranteed. So that's how I like to think about things, because if right now this situation or something that came up, if I can't fix it, if I can't do anything about it at this moment, I'm going to choose to enjoy my life and do something that makes me happy, whatever it is, because this could be my last moment, and I don't want to spend my last moment miserable. And my daughter used to say that to me when she was younger. She's an old soul, and I never wanted to listen to her. Like I said, I've had these tools for decades and just didn't feel like it, didn't want to use them, thought it was a bunch of bull, until I started using them, and that's why I want to share. So turning wounds into wisdom, learning and healing from trauma. If you don't know me, I'm yapping. I'm Christine, and I'm the founder and owner of Whispers of the Wounded Soul, and all of this came about during my healing journey. I was sitting there trying to come up with names, all these different things were coming through, and then I came up with, Whispers of the Wounded Soul. And then when I realized I was writing a book and got to turning wounds into wisdom, it all hit me as I was, reframing parts of the book, because the song Let It Be was a song that has saved me my entire life. It saved me when I was 5 years old, and it has saved me through the years. Because at 5 years old, I was thinking it was Mother Mary letting me know that, she's there, in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, whispering words of wisdom, let it be. And there was something that song did that night, laying in bed with one of those little transistor AM FM radios, and that song came on, and the words that night hit me. I didn't have a mom, I didn't have my mom. Well, I did at that moment, but it wasn't good. She came and went out of my life, and at that moment when I did have her with who I thought was my father at the time, things were not okay in my life at all. It was extremely traumatizing. I had some very serious psychological experiences and things that wired my brain. Anyway, it's rough still. So, and I'm not healed and I'm not fixed. I'm taking you along for the rest of my journey. But anyway, so as I was sitting there thinking about, let it be, whisper words of wisdom. I didn't mean any of this. I didn't plan it. I didn't plan my book or any of this to go with that song. So I thought that was really wild. And then I started really realizing, there's so many people out there who are probably wounded too and need to be saved, because I don't want anyone to ever go down that road where I was heading. And I want them to know there's hope. And I want them to know, they're not alone. So again, that's how the book came about. And this is not just for women, even though the cover is purple and has a female on it in a long dress. This could be for men too, because, trauma and PTSD and healing, none of it has a gender. It just is. You're affected by it regardless. So just in case you're a man and you are interested, it's not for women. It's the story about what I've gone through in my life, and then I kind of guide you at the end through, helping you with some things you might be carrying. I do have a companion journal, and I don't have it here with me, but that you can use along with it, and it's more like a journal with spaces for you, prompts for you to journal things and try to release a lot of the baggage that you're dealing with. You can use it along with this, or you don't need it at all. I mean, I just put it there to give you that extra oomph. And again, if you decide to go into shadow work, please be careful. Please talk to your therapist or doctor. And, if you're in serious depression, don't do it without help, without someone around with you, because it's deep. It's when they say shadow work, stuff from the depths that you were trying to shove away, things that you might not even realize that happened because they were such a closed memory. Memories came up that I didn't even acknowledge through my whole life. When the memory came up, I was like, oh my God, no wonder I didn't remember this. I mean, that was deep. And you literally can go see deep in some of your memories that you can almost feel it happening to you again. And that's just how our brain works and how our brain stores memory. So yeah, I wanted to just read a little bit real quick in the introduction to give you an idea, because people are asking me, what is your book about? Is it just for women? So that's what I wanted to kind of talk about. So the introduction is born into a secret. My story didn't begin in a nursery or in the arms of proud parents. I came into this world as something to be hidden, a child born under the shadows of secrecy, already carrying the weight of choices I never made. It's rough. To them, I was a mistake. To me, it was just life, because that secret, that mistake was me. It makes sense now why my parents had always told me I was an accident. It explained why the man who I thought was my father spent years trying to erase me in words and in actions. I was the reminder of what should have never been. I wasn't the accident. I wasn't the shame. I was a child. Their silence and their lies and their shadows, none of it was ever mine to carry. So as you can tell, it's rough. And what I learned in writing this book is just that. Some of the stuff that I carried around with me wasn't mine to carry. Your decisions, someone else's decisions put me here, and I talk about that a lot too. When people say stop blaming others for where you're at in your life, there's people out there that say, well, I worked hard for what I have. Some people's choices put me in the situations I'm in. It wasn't mine to begin with. It wasn't my choice that led me to make the decisions where I'm at. And I worked really hard for everything I lost. So again, it's not excuses. When your brain is wired in trauma, it's going to start doing things, secreting hormones and secreting adrenaline and secreting cortisol. And then your all of the parts of your brain, I don't want to go into all of them now because I've had people say it gets confusing when I start with the names, but your amygdala especially, I'll just say that, is like a smoke alarm turned up on high when you've been through trauma. And it's alerting you and it's stopping you, and when it releases all that stuff into your body, and a decision comes up, something happens and you're traumatized at that moment and you have a split decision to make, and you're going to take whatever it is at that moment that your brain is going to let you know that's safety, even if it's not. Even if it's not the best decision that someone else would have made, your brain at that moment is telling you, this is safe, take this. So again, it's not an excuse, because once you learn this, you start having more control over your mind and not allowing yourself to go into that. It's not easy. I still make stupid mistakes, but I'm learning quicker from them, and I'm actually there's times where something will come up, and I have that moment now where I catch myself and say, hold on, wait a minute, before you go any further, let's think about this. It's not easy, but you can get there. You can get there. So in the introduction, that was born into the secret. That was the first part. And then what's ahead? In the pages ahead, you will meet the pieces of me shaped by abuse, betrayal, grief, and abandonment. You'll see the ache of losing too many too young, and the heartbreak that doesn't always come from death, but from the ones who leave even while still alive. These pages aren't just about pain. They're about survival and finding ways to turn every wound into wisdom. If we face these wounds head on, we can learn from the trauma, either from childhood or adulthood or both, and we can heal them. To protect the people in my story, I've chosen not to use names, and in some parts of the book you'll see quotation marks, dad and he, and so on. And then I just say that some of the dates might be off, because I'm not perfect. This book isn't perfect. It's about healing trauma, and that's never perfect or neat. And then it says, this is where my story begins, not in safety, not in innocence, but already carrying the weight of secrets and wounds I didn't choose. Welcome to Little Girl Lost. And chapter 1 is Little Girl Lost. And I'm going to go into a couple paragraphs just to show you how it flows. And then if you're interested in reading the rest and see where it took me, again, I'm working on the full memoir. There's still so much that was left out of this book because I was so traumatized when I wrote it. But I really just felt like I needed to get it out there. Like I said, I waited 58 years to start trying to clear this stuff up and learn that it wasn't all me, and that I wasn't broken beyond repair, and I needed to get the word out ASAP. So Little Girl Lost. They say childhood should be the place where innocence lives, but mine was the place where innocence got lost. The trauma started before I was even born. When I was 19, I asked my aunt questions about my childhood. There were things that I just couldn't piece together, and I guess I seemed to have blocked out. That was when the truth was told about what I endured while I was still in my mom's belly. Trigger warning. Okay. My mother had tried to end her life twice while pregnant with me. Once she even beat her stomach with the receiver end of the telephone. She was hoping to abort me. Mom was upset and furious because the man she loved wasn't my real father. He had been in jail when she got pregnant. He knew I wasn't his, and he was now on the phone telling her that he no longer wanted her and certainly didn't want me. I was proof of her infidelity, a child of a one-night stand. I was the family secret. The wild part is, for reasons I'll never understand, they decided to keep me. And then, I'm not going to read the rest, that's just, yeah. So that's how it started. And the fact that I am still here, and if you read, you'll see, going all the way, it never got better, it never got easier. It was one blow after the next, and I would build something and it would collapse, and, I'd be promised something and it would be taken away, and it was just, the death, it's just been nonstop, and it's still hitting right now to this day. I'm in probably one of the worst, I'm worse off financially and than I was before I had my breakthrough. But I'm handling it differently now. That's why I was saying, I know that it works because right now I would either be shoving it down and pretending it wasn't happening and just smiling along like I always do, or I would be a basket case or be laying in bed depressed. It was either one or the other. I never just sat down and handled things like a normal person per se, because I didn't know how. And I got married and moved out from my grandparents raised me, and I was 19 years old. And then my grandmother died while I was still, gone, married. And there was so many things I didn't know and I didn't learn. And when I was younger and she was trying to teach me things, when she was trying to raise me, like I said, I was numbing myself and I wasn't even present technically to even absorb anything she was trying to teach me. It's been a rough road. And that's where I say it's not excuses. I keep getting up, so don't tell me that I should have this and I should have that and you're an adult now or you know better. Don't tell me what I should know or what I should do, and that's what I'm telling you. Don't allow anyone to make you feel guilty for any decision that kept you alive to be here today, right now, especially if you've had lifelong trauma, because it isn't your fault. When your brain is rewired, it takes a lot of work to retrain those thoughts. We all know a habit. They say a habit takes like 21 days or something like that. And once you get rolling in something, it kind of becomes a part of you. It's second nature. That's how our brain is working. It's second nature. It knows we're in trouble. Now it's just going to try to save us in whatever way it can before we even get that chance about thinking rationally. Once the decision has been made, now that's when we turn around and now we're ashamed. Now we're embarrassed. Now people say, well, why would you do that again? Because we're replaying the same thoughts and all of the stuff that we had shoved down is filling us up, and we don't have any room for the positivity. There's no room for changing. Like the negative thought, the limiting belief. It's hard to change when you have all that stored, and there's nowhere for that good belief. That thing about you're smart. You're beautiful, you can do anything, all of the things, that you kind of should be taught growing up, sometimes where other things are beat into our heads, and not that we're good, and not that we deserve this, and we're doing well. It depends, again, how you grew up. If you grew up with a lot of stability, then you're going to make decisions that are completely opposite of what someone with trauma makes. It's not an excuse, but it is. And I just can't seem to ever stress that enough to people. But once you realize that you have more control over that and you can release those thoughts and everything, like right now, if I were to say, well, this is just me, or just started being mean to people or taking whatever I've been out on other people, that's excuses and you're not handling it in a good way, but just try to be, kind to people. Don't take what you're going through out on others, and just know that you can heal it. There's ways to retrain those thoughts. There really is. So keep following me. I'll keep sharing. You're welcome to inbox me and ask me questions, and I can do one-on-one therapies with you if you'd like through Zoom. It takes me time right now to get back to everyone, so please bear with me, because a lot of people are reaching out to me. And I'm still healing. That's what I said. I'm bringing you along on my journey, but I'm not promising I'm going to fix you, and I'm not making any promises here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm someone who has 20 years of research and tools, and I'm realizing now that those tools that I've been carrying around work, and I just want to share them with you. So if I can help you heal, that's what this is about. So I wanted to end with a couple fun little positive messages. And this one is lighten up. This one says, you're being asked to remember that life doesn't always have to be so serious. Yes, there are hard things happening. No, it's not always easy to be here on earth, but you can always find time to laugh, be silly, and have fun. It's so important that you do so. And that's what I talk about. You're not pretending that what's going on in the world and there's some crazy shit going on out that we're hearing. But it doesn't mean you pretend it's not happening. But if you can't fix it or do anything about it right now, stop carrying it around and go enjoy yourself. Again, like I always say, Yesterday's gone, tomorrow's not promised, and an hour from now is not guaranteed. So how are you going to live that quite possibly the last hour of your life? And you don't live it in fear that, oh my God, she's right, I could be dead in an hour. How can I enjoy this time? Because we only have the moment we're in, right? That's it. What's happening right now is what we have, and we have control over it. So the other card that I pulled was Guardian Angel. You are not alone. I thought I had it already saved. I usually have them ready so I don't have to sit here and go through it. Sorry. Am I even in the right? You know, that's what I say. I'm not perfect. My book certainly isn't perfect. I added it and edited it, and I published it myself. So, my first book, hey. So, Guardian Angel, you are not alone. The message: watch for signs and reminders from your angels and loved ones that they are close by. Remember that they are working hard to guide you. The Guardian Angel card shows the white feather that has become known as the Guardian Angel's business card. Whenever a white feather appears in your life, or this card appears in your reading, it's a message to you to say your guardian angel and ancestor guides are particularly close. They're supporting you with their love. If you have asked for help with a particular situation, know that there is divine intervention in the works. Everyone has a guardian angel who has been with them in all of their lives, because, past lives too. And they will be there in every lifetime to come. So know that you are never alone and never will be alone. This card is a huge reminder that there is always help and support available to you. Your guardian angel is with you now and is here to aid you in all of your endeavors. In order to fully receive their support, first ask for it and then surrender to the process, and know that whatever unfolds will be for your highest good. And I say that all the time too. It's when you get quiet that you hear the answers. People say they miss their relatives, and then I hear people say, some people say they saw a cardinal or a feather and their loved one visited them and mine don't. They might be visiting you and you're just not quieting your mind to hear it or feel it or see it. There's signs that I notice all the time now, and it kind of blows my mind. Because I used to not pay attention. I was busy, and purposely trying to keep busy. I was a workaholic. Like I said, anything to numb. And numb isn't just, drink or alcohol or drugs or something. Numbing is workaholic. Numbing is, a gambler or something. It's not just an addiction. It's a part of numbing ourselves so we don't have to think about the things we don't want to think about. And the only way to really release those things and not keep shoving them down until you explode is to do, shadow work, or to just sit with yourself and let thoughts come up and journal them. If you're not comfortable or don't feel safe having a journal around, that you don't want someone to read, which, trust me, I get it, okay? Write it down and rip it up, flush it, bury it, burn it, whatever you have to do. But writing releases. And then you can even do that. I release all of this that I was carrying around with me, and and bury it or burn it or something if you can. Watch it dissipate. It really does help. So I wanted to share that with you. I thank you again for my followers and for all the messages and all the people who say that I'm helping them and to keep going. I appreciate you, because without you, I wouldn't be doing this anymore. I would have given up, because I'm sitting here talking to myself and just wondering if someone's going to watch or someone's going to get anything out of it. So it's a little odd. And again, I'm talking about my book and all this, and it's raw. There's some things in there that are rough and real. But if I didn't share it, you wouldn't know that I've been through it and that you're not alone. Okay. Thanks, guys. Again, have a good rest of your day or night, and make it a good one.